Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a stack of your sources, often, some of the deepest wells of human wisdom available, and we try to distill them into the clarity you need. We're really not here for volume, we're here for the definitive anchor points.
And today we are finishing one of the most exhaustive philosophical searches in history. We're looking at the ultimate conclusion, the final definitive statements from the book of Ecclesiastes, specifically chapter 12.
The journey to get here has been, well, it's been pretty brutal. For those who might not be familiar, the teacher Koheleth has been on this full spectrum philosophical excavation. He's looked at pleasure, wealth, knowledge, labor.
All of it.
And he found that everything under the sun is hevel.
Right. And that's a concept that's often translated as meaningless or vanity, but it literally means vapor or breath.
So everything we chase is just temporary, it's wispy, it doesn't ultimately satisfy.
It's the ultimate statement of existential despair, explored thoroughly. But that despair is actually the setup for this final chapter. When the philosophical rampage is over, when all has been heard, the teacher delivers the conclusive, unavoidable answer to purpose.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We are extracting that definitive anchor that emerges from all that questioning. This text is ancient, yet it speaks so directly against several defining currents of modern culture.
Oh, absolutely. The worship of perpetual youth, for one.
The denial that aging and decline are real, and this promotion of just endless information without any unifying purpose. We're looking for that profound clarity that cuts through the noise.
And we'll find that clarity by examining first, the urgent call to the young, then the surprisingly artistic poetry of physical decline, the diligence required to teach wisdom accurately, and finally, the profoundly simple, ultimate answer to the whole duty of man.
Let's jump right into that first key mandate, because it is delivered with this genuine urgency, and it's directed straight at those of you listening in your prime years. It's practical, but it just flies directly in the face of what our society constantly tells young people.
It absolutely does. I mean, society encourages self-discovery, right? Gap years, focusing on your own personal journey, postponing any kind of serious commitment. The teacher, however, hits them immediately in verse 12.1. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them.
So the text sets up a binary choice. You either build your foundation now,
Or you wait.
or you wait for the days of trouble. And that phrasing, days of trouble, it's such a stark, undeniable warning that life doesn't typically ease up as you age. It compounds.
It's a foundational lesson about capacity. When you are young, your energy is highest, your passion is robust, you have peak mental and physical leverage. That is the time to build a relationship with God, to establish those habits of obedience and align your life. If you wait until the years when life is genuinely difficult, when you're physically diminished, responsibilities are heavy, and your capacity shrinks, the task just becomes exponentially harder.
I want to push on that a little bit. To a young person today, remember your Creator. That can sound kind of vague. What does the text imply is the real cost of putting this off? Is it just, delayed spirituality, or is it a catastrophic failure to use your peak leverage point?
It's the latter. It's it's really a failure of stewardship over the most valuable asset you have. Your time and your energy, the foundation you lay in your youth, the habits, the commitments, the priorities. It doesn't just prepare you for old age. It supports the entire structure of the life you live now. So the text really challenges the modern cultures that encourages young people to live only for immediate pleasure and postpone all responsibility, especially spiritual responsibility, until they're ready.
And there's a critical corresponding duty here for those who are older. We've talked about the idea that wisdom must be transmitted.
Yes, if you've gone through the journey, you've experienced the hevel, and you've found the anchor, then the duty of the older generation is to share that hard-won wisdom. Your experience is not something to hoard or, be ashamed of. It's a valuable gift. But you raised a good point. How do you transmit that wisdom without sounding preachy or out of touch?
Right, because if you just sound like some judgmental voice from the past, the younger generation will instinctively tune you out, especially since the teacher himself proved how easy it is to chase all that false meaning.
The teacher's effectiveness is rooted in his diligence, which we'll get to shortly. But essentially, you share the results of the search, not just the final answer. You transmit wisdom with humility, acknowledging the vaporousness of life's pursuits, and you point them to the permanent anchor while they still possess the full capacity to grasp it. It's really about saving them years of unnecessary trouble.
Hmm.
But waiting until later isn't just a loss of energy, it's a loss of the vessel itself. And the teacher gives us this incredibly artistic, almost mournful description of what happens when that peak capacity is gone.
This is where the writing gets truly moving. It's not just saying you get old, using these vivid, poignant metaphors that elevate physical decay into, well, genuine poetry. It's a very sobering picture of reality.
It is astonishingly artistic. The text takes a complex biological reality and simplifies it into this universal imagery that, any person, regardless of their culture, would recognize and the breakdown of their own house.
Let's slow down and look at those specific metaphors. Can you give us the breakdown of the major systems failing? Because they are incredibly evocative.
Certainly. So the body support structure is the first to fail. He calls the arms the keepers of the house, and they begin to tremble. This suggests not just weakness, but the loss of the ability to protect or provide. The hands that built and protected are now unsteady.
And the legs, the mobility, the foundation itself.
They are the strong men, and they begin to stoop and bend. They lose their strength, their ability to carry the load of life. Then the more subtle things, the grinders, which are, clearly the teeth, they cease to function effectively.
Your vision fails, those looking through windows grow dim, and the text notes that desire itself is no longer stirred. It paints a picture of a human engine whose mechanisms are just steadily slowing down, the fuel's running out, preparing for the final journey. It's a hard truth, but it's delivered with such dignity.
And that journey leads to the unavoidable conclusion mentioned right after the physical decline. The text acknowledges our dual nature. At death, the dust returns to the ground it came from, which recognizes our temporary physical origin and decay.
But the key phrase that completely changes the spiritual landscape of the whole book is the final part of that image.
Yes.
Sure.
And the spirit returns to God who gave it. This is the foundational affirmation that we are more than dust. We are spiritual beings. And that spirit goes back to its source, which absolutely sets up the idea of ultimate accountability.
So the body fails, but the spiritual core endures. That provides an immediate practical application for us, right? It suggests, first, treating the elderly with immense honor and compassion, recognizing the intense struggle they face as their house crumbles around them.
Absolutely. Recognizing their challenges and showing grace is paramount. And second, for those of us aging, it encourages us to do so with grace, trusting that even as the body declines, the spirit can and should continue to grow stronger. The inward life doesn't have to follow the trajectory of the outward physical decline. You gain wisdom even as you lose capacity.
Okay, let's shift gears entirely and talk about how this wisdom was delivered. It kind of pulls back the curtain on the teacher's work process. If life is hevel, why bother writing it all down? And how diligent was he in compiling this knowledge?
His diligence, it speaks volumes about the weight he placed on the answer. He was not satisfied with surface-level knowledge or speculation. The text is clear. He not only taught knowledge to the people, but also pondered, searched out, and set in order many proverbs. He was a scholar, an editor, and an ethicist all in one.
He searched to find just the right words, making sure that what he wrote was upright and true. That shows the care and diligence that must go into teaching truth effectively. It's not just about finding the truth, it's about presenting it securely so it actually sticks.
And that's where the nature of wise words comes in. The text uses this incredible dual imagery in chapter 12, verse 11. It says these words serve two functions. They are like goads and like firmly embedded nails.
That is such a vivid image. Goads are. They're instruments that poke, they prod, they drive a reluctant animal, they force movement.
Correct. The words of truth sting. They force action, pushing us out of complacency and, intellectual sluggishness. But if wisdom only prodded, we'd constantly be in motion without direction. And that's why they must also be like firmly embedded nails.
Ah, security. They provide stability, anchor point, structure in a confusing, vaporous world. They hold things together. And the text insists these dual-purpose words, the goad and the nail, they come from a single origin, the one shepherd.
The source is key. All wisdom, whether it is challenging us or securing us, it flows from God. That connection is essential. Otherwise, the words are just another philosophy rooted in human hevel.
That distinction makes the teacher's next warning even more important. I mean, he was the one searching, the one compiling the books. And yet he gives us this profound caveat about study itself.
This is a warning that rings more true now than it ever has before. Be warned, of making many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. The pursuit of knowledge is good, but the text cautions that endless pursuit and speculation. It just distracts from the main thing.
This isn't just about ancient parchment scrolls. This is Koheleth's definitive warning against information paralysis. We live in an era of infinite digital books, endless podcasts, scrolling feeds. The fear isn't ignorance. It's information overload that never leads to wisdom or action.
Exactly. If the study doesn't lead to application, if it doesn't lead to the core duty, it can simply become wearying. It's the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, rather than for the sake of glorifying the Creator, that ultimately results in more hevel. It distracts you from the main thing by focusing your finite time on infinite secondary issues.
Which brings us to the moment of resolution, the finale we've been building toward. After all the searching, the relentless questioning, the exploration of how unsatisfying life under the sun truly is, what is the clear, definitive direction offered to the listener? What is the single point that cuts through all the vapor?
This is the moment where the entire book resolves itself from despair to definition. The central conclusion is presented in verse 12.13. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
That is the complete answer. It's short, it's punchy, and it utterly simplifies the entire purpose of life.
It is profoundly simple, yet all-encompassing. But we have to deal with that phrase, fear God. In a modern context, that can sound like a cowering, anxious terror. The text clarifies that this is reverence, it's awe, and it's worship, a profound respect for his power and his position.
So it's a reverence that informs and motivates us, rather than paralyzing us. If you truly grasp the grandeur of God, then obedience, keeping his commandments, it naturally flows from that awe. This is the ultimate counter to modern individualism, which encourages self-worship. The teacher says, no, the whole point is acknowledging someone greater than yourself.
It is the ultimate antidote to hevel. If everything else is vapor, then focusing on the eternal, the shepherd, is the only thing that offers substance. But the teacher doesn't let us off the hook with a simple mandate. He immediately ties this simple duty to the terrifying fact of accountability.
He establishes the necessary foundation for that duty. God will bring every deed into judgment.
Every single one.
Including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil.
Nothing escapes his notice. And this places a profound dignity on your life and your choices. It tells us that we are living under the watchful eye of a just God, and we will give an account not just for the actions others see, but for the motivations and the private secret decisions.
This reality shouldn't lead to paralyzing fear, but rather a profound motivation. If you know you are accountable for every hidden thing, that truth simplifies your choices. It keeps your focus on the main thing and away from the endless distraction of making many books.
It gives you clear direction. Live a life that pleases him. If every hidden motivation is seen, then the greatest duty is integrity, ensuring your public actions match your private devotion.
So we started this deep dive looking for profound clarity in a world that's really defined by confusion, moral relativism, and just information overload. And what this final chapter provides is exactly that anchor point.
It's a complete system. It speaks directly against modern currents by calling young people to remember God now, giving us a realistic, dignified view of aging and providing a clear, ultimate purpose, the whole duty of man alongside a structure for ultimate accountability. This is stable wisdom.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought to consider, based on the implications of this final chapter. The source material reminds us that God will bring into judgment even every hidden thing.
Think about that. The deeds and decisions you make when absolutely no one else is watching. The private thoughts, the motivations that never make it to the surface, they are not hidden from the ultimate judge.
So how does the reality that nothing escapes notice affect your daily choices, even the ones nobody else sees? Let that truth be the goad that prods you into action and the firmly embedded nail that gives you security. Focus on the main thing and find purpose in the ultimate simplicity of duty.
That is the anchor that cuts through the vapor.
Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.